is going on, family? This is Pastor Jonathan Rivera, and you are listening to the Welcome to the Future podcast, where we believe that if we are the future, then the future is now. I'm super excited because this is our second episode, but really is our first episode where we come and we have a guest with us, and I'm super excited to introduce the very first guest of the Welcome to the Future podcast. In life, you have people who are friends, and then in life, you have people who are family, and this person falls into both categories. Pastor John Mejia is the young adults pastor at New Birth Church in Kissimmee, someone that I've known for many years. I'm so excited for you to hear his story, the story of his church, story of his ministry, a little bit about him, and get to hear about everything that God's done in his life. So help me to introduce and welcome Pastor John Mejia in the building. What's up, bro?
PJ, I gotta say, bro, we're here at the FMD headquarters.
Yes, we are.
And you have yourself a setup over here, bro.
Bro, we tried, got my little mini fridge over here. We're in my office right now.
I love it.
And we got the lights set up. Shout out to our media guy, Randy.
Dude, I'm honored to be here. I'm stoked, man. You know I love you.
Yep.
Like you said, we're not just friends, we're family.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was thinking about, like, when I was riding here, you've been day one.
True.
You know what I'm saying? A1 since day one.
Literally day one, bro.
Legit. So I'm stoked to be here, man. I love what you're doing with the district, man. Just
Appreciate
your position, you're killing it, dude. You know,
we have an amazing team, bro.
You're doing an awesome job, and like to see what God's doing through this podcast, and like you making a way, really for there to be communication to like this generation. You know what I mean? Like this generation of pastors, of students. You're creating avenues like this. You know what I mean, to strengthen them and speak to them in their language, really.
Yeah.
And dude, welcome to the future. Let's go.
Let's freaking go, bro.
This is awesome, bro.
So what some of you guys might not know, the way that I was introduced to Pastor John Mejia is we both were part of a church for many years, and his dad was the pastor of the church, and John Mejia lived up to the stereotype of a pastor's kid in every way possible. I mean, security, running around the church looking for him, getting into fights, running around during like church lock-ins. And it's just so crazy to like remember like growing up with you, like, which was a ton of fun. But now to see where you are now, and I feel like for a long time, like, you were just happy to serve. Like, your dad was a pastor. You understood, like, you and your brother are really good with that, where you guys are like, we're just here to serve. Like, we know how hard church is. We know how hard ministry can be. So, like, we just want to help out because we know that pastors and leaders already go through a lot. Here's my question for you, where it's like, I feel like you were in church and like you were going through your process, right? Like we all do. And then there came a moment where like God really started doing something in your life.
Got a hold of you.
He got a hold of you. God will choke slam you sometimes. Somebody. You know what I'm saying? Straight WWE you. And so I feel like God got a hold of your life. And there was actually a moment which was pretty cool. I was on staff as the junior high pastor. Pastor JJ was our youth pastor. And then you came on as like our creative director. So you were taking pictures, making graphics. We made music videos.
We did everything in the book.
Do you remember UOENO?
Yes, I remember that night.
That was a vibe.
It was a whole music video.
You can still find it on YouTube.
Yes, you can.
So like,
you just don't drop the link though.
We will not drop that link. So what happened was you came on as a creative director, and then bro, your dad plants a church, and you end up becoming the youth pastor. And I'll be honest, we were all like, whoa, like we knew John had it in him. We knew there was more John, but like we didn't know that all of this was in John. Like, bro, here's my question. There's people who are watching who maybe are trying to figure out what their calling is, and maybe feel like, man, I feel like there's more in my life. I feel like there's more that God wants to do, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how to get there. Like, when did that switch happen for you, where you were like, you know what? I think God's calling me to do more than what I'm doing right now. I would love to hear about that.
Dude, for real. I mean, we grew up in the same context.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We had friends that were all in, some friends that weren't. We were in that big community of young people.
Yep.
And I think at some point, you got to just start saying yes to stuff.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think my story kind of hinges on like my ability to say yes. You know what I mean?
Good.
Yes to God. Yes to your pastors.
Come on.
Yes to leadership.
If you're taking notes right now, just in big
yeah.
all caps, stars, underline, highlight it, say yes.
Dude, I didn't know all this was tucked in me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know obviously, you know, you're given a position, you have to try to, you know, be the best you can be in that position.
True.
So I was given creative. But dude, my first entry into ministry was playing drums.
Yep.
And making music and writing music.
Which, by the way, you're one of my favorite drummers.
Thank you, bro.
Like I'm not lying, bro.
Dude, I finally have hair now, so I can actually be the drummer I want to be.
True.
But dude, so that's my first way into ministry, and then just start saying yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, like being in a Pentecostal church growing up. We grew up FMD. We are FMD. We grew up this.
Yep.
In a Pentecostal church. You know that, and then with leaders that just give so much like freedom to young people.
True.
Which still is wild. Like being now in our positions.
Yep.
We know how much of a risk that is, but
for sure
we can definitely take that risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because our leaders have done that with us.
That's so good.
You know what I mean?
I think about me like just the amount of freedom and trust that was given to me.
True.
And the amount of trust that I've had to give to other people. It's scary, but man, like. I thank God someone took a chance on me.
Come on.
Like, if you're a leader today, like, I just want to encourage you, take risks on people.
Yeah.
There's people that you're going to pour into, and you're not going to see a lot of fruit. There's people that you're going to pour into, and they're going to get upset with you. They're going to get offended with you. They're going to, feel like you're taking advantage of them. All kinds of things happen in ministry, but I just want to encourage you, like, one thing that I know God's been speaking to me in this season is my job, bro, check this out. This has been so helpful for me.
Come on.
My job is not to see fruit. My job is to sow seeds.
That's so good.
Like, that's my job. That's my only job.
That's good.
I can't control what people are going to do. I can't control how people are going to react. What I
Yeah.
can control is, as a leader, I'm pouring into people.
That's so
I'm
good.
sowing into people. I'm doing everything that I can. And so, bro, I'm glad that people took a risk on you. Like, I'm
Dude.
glad Pastor JJ saw you and he was like, John, you're our
Bro,
guy.
just the whole team, like you know what I mean? Like it's been like somebody giving you a push.
True.
You know what I mean? And you know, it doesn't like lean to the other extreme, right? You just push everybody.
Yep.
Because then, you know, then that's when you'll set yourself up for failure. I think this is the route of ministry that takes longer, but is way more fruitful.
Interesting.
To try to take risks on younger people or anybody.
Yeah.
Somebody who's a year saved.
True.
2 years saved.
Bro, really quick, tell me a story of somebody that you took a risk on and you're so glad that you did.
My goodness. The list goes on and on. I was asked to lead youth ministry and worship ministry at the same time when we launched our church.
True.
As a 19-year-old.
That's wild.
The first thing I did was put people in charge of everything, bro. The first thing, like bringing in people that I trust, I love.
Yeah.
They're behind me, you know, I'm younger than them.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a whole nother podcast, leading young. You know what I mean? But quickly I just gave power away.
True.
Quickly gave influence away. And I'd go up to people I led. I'm like, this person is your leader.
True.
I talked to her. You know what I mean? Like, and then we're still going to get coffee. We're still going to hang out. I'm still going to be there for you. But she's going to walk alongside you. He's going to walk alongside you. And her gifts are going to bless you, and your gifts are going to bless her.
Come on.
And that quickly became, you know, the risk. Yeah, it's risky, but I think it comes with prayer. It comes with looking at the right people. It comes with like a little bit going through the fire. You know what I mean? You don't want the first time someone goes through fire within church to be in a leadership position. You want to go through a couple seasons in church where you're like handling things
for sure
outside of church and still just being faithful.
Come on.
I think, you know, that just kind of raises the standard of being a leader, but I think it's worth it.
True. Because
you know how to like have that. And I hate work-life balance, but it's more like priorities like right on with serving the local church,
Yeah.
having it up there together.
Sure.
You know, I think it comes with a little bit of management. Anyways, we went left.
No, it's okay. I love that we left.
Okay.
Before I ask you my next question, super random question. We talked about it a little bit before we started the podcast. I love the way that
smooth.
you explained,
I love
right?
it.
The way that we
That
just
was really
transitioned that.
smooth.
I love that. So I think
That's years of ministry.
like you just get really good at transitions.
Really good.
We literally have a portion of the service
Seamless.
called transition.
It's seamless.
Like we've become geniuses at how to transition stuff. Like high worship moment to like, all right, let's talk about announcements.
You gotta love the church you go to. You know what I mean? So, what's the part you dread the most? Those awkward transitions.
So, bro, you were talking a little bit about the way that you guys planted a church 5 years ago. This year you celebrate 6 years, right?
6 years. This year we celebrate 7.
Oh, let's go.
2015.
True, it wasn't 2016, it was 2015.
2015.
So,
bro.
6 years ago, you guys planted this incredible church, New Birth. Which I grew up in New Birth. There's a whole story to that.
They don't know.
They don't know, but it's okay. It's another podcast for another day.
That's it. It's
And
deep.
so
They don't know it's that
real deep. And so,
We
anyways,
just talk about you leading worship. By the way,
let's not.
FMD.
No. We're not gonna talk about that.
Let's talk about old New Birth real quick.
No, let's not talk about that at all. So, New Birth started 6 years ago in Kissimmee. You guys were at Osceola High School, and bros, you planted. And bro, there was just this grace on your church, man. The way that God just provided buildings for you guys, the way that God brought the right people, the way that you guys grew so quickly, and not just as a church, but particularly your youth ministry, bro. It just exploded. And you did youth and young adults. There was a moment where you had 2 young adult service in one night back to back. Like it was just crazy what you guys were doing. I think my question to you is like, there's a lot that we could talk about that. That's a whole podcast, but man, what would you contribute just the growth that you guys experienced to? Because, man, before the pandemic, you guys were rolling strong, bro. Now, obviously, you guys have a new building. You guys are out of the Hope Center, which was a little bit smaller, so you had to have multiple services. What y'all were doing there was wild. But, like, in the beginning, there was just something special about your church in the beginning that I think a lot of people can learn from. It was like super DIY. Y'all were thugging it out. You were making stuff happen. Like you were just making it work. But God was doing something. Like, tell me a little bit about just like what was going on, what happened, like what was that like?
So man, it still feels like just yesterday, you know,
True.
like it's fastest 6 years of my life.
True.
And all the honor and glory goes to Jesus.
Come on.
We can act like we know what we're doing.
Yep.
But we have no idea what we're doing.
Exactly.
I think we're just like looking closely at what we do.
True.
And praying for God to continue to do what only He can. But
Yep.
dude, it's been wild. I think, you know, there's so many layers to how New Birth came to be.
Yep.
Like just by the people that are, you know, the roots. So the church started with my family in my living room.
Yeah.
With like 26 people.
Which your family's a mafia, bro.
So my family took like half the room and probably a bit more. And we started with $1 in a dream.
True. I love that.
You fast forward to set up Tear Down Ministry, and we have a Hope Center that, you know, seats 120 comfortably.
Yep.
We had our first youth night, 15 students, second youth night, 30. We were 30 for a couple of weeks. And we went from 30 to 300 in a year.
Crazy.
And the more I look back on it, it's like we still don't know what we're doing, but then we really had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, bro.
We're grateful for our leaders. So my dad is the lead, Pastor Gabby, the lead pastor of our church, founding pastor.
Yep.
Still the lead pastor, and that visionary that he just got behind us and pushed us.
True.
And pushed us. I think so. There's so many layers to how youth came to be. New Birth Youth, New Birth YA. There's like so many layers. Growing up Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Our upbringing, our leaders, right? Pastor Nino.
Yep.
Pastor Gabby, my dad, just their leadership over me.
Yep.
As you mentioned earlier, Pastor JJ. I mean, we've been molded. Pastor Mark Vega.
Come on.
You know, pastors that were that now you're in their positions, which is so crazy.
It's wild.
Because we grew up in the camps that we're now putting on.
Yep.
That was our aha moment, like, you know, like you mentioned earlier, when you actually take things serious with God.
True.
So we're coming from all that legend goatness,
Literally, these dudes are legends, bro.
which all churches are successful and thriving and filled with young people.
Yep.
You come out of that and it's like, you know, how are we going to be us, but how are we going to still like honor
Yeah.
everything we've been through, every place we've gone to, every seed someone's planted.
Come on.
How do we like steward that,
True.
but also understand who we are right now?
Yeah. I think, man, just to pause on that, because I think that's so good. I think sometimes older leaders are afraid to pass things on because they're afraid that it won't look the way that it looked in the past. And
true.
I think there's actually a generation of young leaders like us who are like, actually, we want to carry like what you gave us. We actually want to carry it. Like everything you've done, we don't want to lose it. We not only do we not want to lose it, we need it.
Yeah.
We need what you had. We need your prayer life. We need your spirituality. We need your experience.
We need your internet connection.
We need all of it. We need it. It might look different.
Yep.
Like you are not your dad. And as much as I love your dad, like I'm glad that you've like really embraced like this is who I am as a leader. This is who I am as a pastor.
Yeah.
And so like we're carrying what they gave us, but it's just it looks different because we're trying to be a real genuine expression of like what that looks like in our time, in our generation, with this generation of young people. Sure. And I love how you guys have done that. Like bro, New Birth Youth is super Pentecostal. Like y'all do not shy away from extended worship.
Dude, it's
altar
tongues,
calls.
It's tongues every week.
Come on.
And it's like we're explaining it, right? We're explaining our way through this.
Yep.
Dude, it's literally like, and it's awesome because it's that new, fresh, like, who are we right now?
Yeah.
You know,
so
like,
let me ask you, just diving in a little bit more, making it more specific, what do you feel like are the characteristics of your youth ministry that created that growth? What made it something that young people want to be a part of, something that young people want to go to? Because youth pastors are like, man, like, what do I need to do to have a solid, healthy, thriving youth ministry? Like, what were the characteristics that you felt like created growth and made your youth ministry a place that students wanted to go?
For sure, like there's like this answer that I've really tried to define that last couple years. True. What is it? And really, I think I've defined it to like a specific type of culture, a church culture.
True.
So like my team and I, so I have like the young adult staff team at our church. We meet, and we met for a couple weeks with a whiteboard.
Yep.
Just all of us giving our own kind of definition of what's the best thing we have to offer as a church.
Side note, I don't know why, but as youth pastors, we love whiteboards.
I'm like begging for one in my studio, and my wife's about to get me one.
Every great youth pastor I know has like 5 whiteboards.
It's like
go buy a whiteboard.
God's tools to preachers and pastors.
If you don't have a whiteboard, you're not a good youth pastor. So go buy a whiteboard.
Dude, even if you got like glass and like glow in the dark, like what is it? Glow in the dark markers?
Yeah.
Expo markers?
Yep.
On like a dark glass.
If you don't have a whiteboard, just start drawing on your window. Just do it.
Start on your windshields.
Do it even on your car. It's fine.
Write
just
the
make
vision
sure
down, make
your
it plain.
writings make it plain.
Make it plain.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry for interrupting. Continue.
That's hilarious, dude. I totally forgot what we were talking about.
We were talking about how you and your staff sat down, you had a whiteboard out, and you're trying to figure out what is it that makes our youth ministry great.
So it came down to this culture that we defined as like really being this Jesus culture of like family,
yep,
authenticity,
yep,
and then like, you know, the Holy Spirit fire. Like you come down to like 4 or 5 things.
Yep.
But what you could really define it as, and like what simplified it all, is like, man, it's just like, it sounds like Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, Jesus, his grace, his love, his redemption.
Yep.
His, you know, the way he modeled community and discipleship.
Yep.
All of it working together.
Come on.
So we've defined it as like a Jesus culture. So really, I think it's the, you know, students coming in, they didn't hear a worship song, and this is pre-COVID. They didn't hear a worship song yet, and they've got like 10 hugs.
Come on.
And like high fives.
Yep.
And like just making that entry
yep.
to the building.
Yep.
Even outside, there's like music, there's a vibe, but once you walk in, there's just
yep.
this experience. We really were like serious about high fives and
yep.
Hugs.
Yep.
And I love you, welcome
yep.
back.
Come on.
so it just broke the ice. Then you get into worship. We're explaining everything through. We're informing. We're
Yep.
teaching.
Come on.
It's not just impartation and
Yep.
and just go.
Yep.
It's like, this is what we're about to do.
True.
Sometimes it sounds like this is what we're doing right now.
Yep.
Just creating that environment where people feel comfortable enough to bring their friends.
Come on.
That was huge. I had 2 leaders in one season invite like close to 80 people to
That's
church.
insane, bro.
So we brought them up. We prayed for them. We like shouted them out. And then there's also that culture of celebration.
True.
It's that Jesus culture, right?
Yep.
Like, let's celebrate. Let's be excited about stuff.
Come on.
We have victory.
Yeah.
Like, it may be Saturday in the Easter weekend, but
Come on.
we know Sunday's coming.
Now you're preaching.
Come on, somebody. So it's that Jesus culture. I saw it. Low key like Jaws. That's me on the keyboard. Dude, so it's been. I mean, it's great conversation.
True.
Really, I'd encourage any team
Yep.
to try to define what's it for them. Like, why do people come?
Yeah.
Obviously, they come for Jesus,
Yep.
but if every church came to that reality, they come for Jesus. Okay, but that's not why people stay at church.
True.
I think it's the ecclesia, the gathering.
Yeah.
It's the church. It's the community. Are we being intentional?
Come on.
One
of the things that I feel like, like you said, you've built a great culture where it feels like family, where anybody can come, where you're going to get solid teaching. You're going to have an encounter with the Holy Spirit. Like, those are some amazing things that you guys had. I think one of the other things that you guys as a church have done really well, and anyone who shows up to New Birth on a Sunday morning will like see it immediately, is like the church is full of young people. Like, full of them. Like, you're at the door and there's a greeter. Like, you're going to meet somebody young. You look at the stage, you're going to see somebody young. You look at people who are doing transitions, offerings, sometimes even teaching. Like, you're going to see people that are young. And I feel like your church, a lot of people are trying to become intergenerational. And I feel like you guys have that. Like, you have old and young working together. You have a lot of young families in your church. Like, but you still have an older pastor. Like, your dad's in his 50s. Obviously, he's super youthful. Like, he's got J's on every Sunday. Like,
flyest, man.
The flyest. Just like 3-piece suit and like off-white threes. Like, that's your dad, right? Icy.
Iced out.
Ice cold. And
flooded.
So we could just keep on going. But how did you guys create that culture? Because I feel like that's another thing that's been super attractive, where sometimes
just tell your senior pastor to wear J's. No, I'm playing.
That's the secret. If your pastor's not wearing J's, you're not going to get young people.
Just kidding.
That's so terrible. That's not true. We don't believe that,
that is
at
so
all.
not true. But I had to take advantage.
But you know what? I feel like your dad just likes J's. He's not trying to be stylish. He just likes shoes.
And you know what? I'd rather him be in the shoes than cars.
Yeah.
Because it's like way less expensive.
True. But your dad, like, that's just who he is. Like, your dad's always going to be himself. And I feel like he's like, I don't care if you like my shoes. I like my shoes, so I'm going to wear them. But your church is super intergenerational. It's full of young people. And I feel like that's a very attractive thing to people, because what can happen sometimes is, if you're not careful, your youth ministry can become your church instead of your church become your church. And New Birth Youth has always felt like, no, this is New Birth.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not two separate things. Like, New Birth Youth is a part of New Birth Church.
For sure.
How did you guys create that culture?
Dude, it's like I've been giving practical advice, like just super practical, like even with the name.
Yep.
Like my buddy, he's youth pastoring in Colombia.
True.
And he broke it down to me, dude. Like, God brought people in my life right around the perfect time. He brought it down to me in like an Uber.
Yeah.
He's like, at the end of the day, so at his church, he's got 7,000 young people serving on a Sunday.
It's crazy.
And probably more than that.
Yep.
And he's like, it's all about Sunday. So even in your name, like, call your church the name. Yep. And then youth.
Yeah.
And then like, I was ready to kind of go in that direction, because I'm my rule is like simple. Like, let's call it what it is. Yep. New Birth Youth. You know what I mean? Anyways, long story short, so he gives me that advice and I'm starting, and then like everybody just, all my friends, so what's the name of the youth? Yeah. And not to like knock people that have different names for youth. No, I just think it helps with the identity of it. Like, we are New Birth Youth. Yep. Like, so we know after this we go to New Birth Young Adults. Yep. And then after that we just, whatever that age ends, like 30-ish. True. I'm New Birth. Yeah. So it's like, even in the name, and then all throughout our services, that's all we talk about is Sunday.
Yep.
Volunteers serve Sunday. Young
Yep.
people serve Sunday. Again, it's giving that freedom. Also, it's back to leadership.
Yep.
Our pastor giving us that, here, sing.
Yeah.
Can you preach?
Yeah.
Can you? Obviously, there's a lot before that. Again, in taking risks in young people, it's the longer, harder way.
Absolutely.
But it's way more fruitful.
Yeah.
And it's like training and
Yep.
conversations and meeting.
Yep.
And giving boundaries, but letting them know there's no ceiling.
Yeah.
So a lot of that contributes, for real. It
Man,
contributes.
I feel like so many young people and so many young leaders, they're like, hey, like I don't have to be in charge of everything. I don't have to make every decision. Just let me be a part of it.
Yeah.
Man, when you create space for young people and for young leaders, and they feel like they can take ownership and run with stuff, it just changes the game. And I love the way that you guys have done that at New Birth, bro. I love the culture that you guys are creating. Like, again, you walk in on a Sunday and you just see young people everywhere, and I love that. And I think there's like and I know soon I want to bring Pastor Abner on, because he's just a G, right?
Sure.
He's just
legend.
Freaking legend. I want to bring Pastor Abner on, and because he's done such a good job of just empowering us as a youth department, like saying, hey, we want you guys to run. And there's a shift happening, because I think in the past, sometimes it felt like between younger and older generations, there was like this rift. And I feel like now more people are coming to the table and having conversations and saying, hey, what does it look like for us to work together?
So good.
You know, and I know for me, I'm learning, like, man, I know my leader is saying, man, how do I empower you? And I'm looking at my leader, I'm like, how do I honor you?
So good.
I feel like a lot of times young leaders are like, I can't connect with my senior pastor. I don't know how to talk to my leader. Or like, I feel like we're not on the same page. Like, I guarantee you, if you honor your leader will empower you. That's just my encouragement to anybody listening today. Honor your leader. Trust your leader. Follow your leader's vision. And they'll give you vision and give you space to run and give you space to make decisions and to do stuff. And so I just want to encourage you with that. John, last question that I want to ask you before we go. This has been so much fun, by the way.
Dude, you're spitting fire, bro.
We're living in a crazy time. We're trying to figure out post-COVID. I mean, you could debate whether COVID's done or not. Obviously, we live in Florida, so that's a different story. But
it's a whole different world over
What
here.
is COVID? What was COVID? We don't know what that is. Anyways.
It was cute.
So now that we're living in this kind of post-COVID world where church has had to shift, where we've had to become flexible and innovative and creative, as we're looking at the next few years of church, what do you feel like is happening, and where do you feel like we're going as a church? I think COVID taught us two things. It taught us, one, that we didn't have real discipleship. And
Talk about it.
And two, it taught us that we didn't have real community.
Talk about it.
And that's why people were trying to do online services and Zoom calls, and like there wasn't consistency and people weren't showing up, and they felt like this disconnect between us as leaders and our people that we were serving, if we didn't have the building open.
Tough.
And so I think COVID showed us a lot. I think the world is changing quickly.
Talk to 'em.
I think the fact that we're on cameras right now just says a lot about the world that we're living in.
Talk to them.
Man, as we're moving into the future, what do you see happening, and what do you feel like is coming for us as a church and as leaders, and what should we be preparing ourselves for?
Sheesh. Welcome to the future.
Welcome to the future, bro.
I think, we can't act like 2020 didn't happen.
Yeah.
Florida, like outside of church, Florida was like back to normal in 3 months. Church has never been the same.
Yep. That's so true, bro.
It's never been the same. So we've really looked at it as like a whole restart.
Yeah.
We've relaunched.
Yep.
So we're about to turn 7.
Yep.
But really we're about to turn 2.
Bro, that's so true.
Like legit everything.
By the way, that's so honest.
You know what I mean?
Like, I appreciate just you being honest. Like, we're in relaunch.
Why not? You know what I mean? And that for me, like, again, I think also being a part of it, just being like leading young people, just always looking out to what other people are saying.
Yep.
And I was able to catch that from Dr. Sam Chand.
Yeah.
Name drop. And just like, hey, just restart.
Yeah.
This is the time.
Yep.
To ask tough questions. 3 tough questions my team and I asked ourselves. What do we need to start?
Yep.
What do we need to stop?
That's a hard question.
And the hardest. And what do we need to say not yet to?
That's good. What do we need to start? What do we need to stop? And what do we need to say not yet to?
Not yet.
That's
like,
so good.
let's just postpone it.
Yep.
Because people do go crazy when you kill stuff.
Yep.
Just put it to bed for a little bit.
Come on.
Like, hey,
that's
we'll
wisdom.
get back to that.
Yeah.
Promise. You know what I mean? Like, I promise, right?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but so we've relaunched really, and I think the future is just is back to the basics. Every pastor, young pastor I'm looking at, we're going back to the basics, man.
Yep.
Here in Kissimmee, I'm really in tune with like what everyone's talking about. I peep.
Yeah.
You know, I'm listening, and we're all talking about the basics.
Come on.
Like back to square one.
Yep.
Like reset, you know? Pastor Choco, which we mentioned earlier, you're going to have here. I can't wait for that episode.
Oh.
Or on La Mesa too, and both.
Yep.
Get them on.
Which, by the way, Pastor Abner, our superintendent,
come on,
has a podcast
name drop
called La Mesa.
Plug.
It's coming soon.
Plug.
It's going to be fire. You should watch it.
Pastor Choco, he said something that wrecked me. He was like, God sent everybody home. COVID wasn't for the world and for the church. It was for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody got sent back to the room.
Come on.
Like he put it in perspective of when your parents send you to your room to think about what you've done.
That's
think
so
hard
good. Yep.
about like what you've done.
Yep.
You know, just you being honest enough to say there's some things I know we were really bad at before COVID.
True.
That COVID exposed.
Yep.
You know, I've been saying this too much. I don't know if people in my church are getting tired of it, but like I've been saying it too much. Like we've been wearing masks before COVID. You know what I mean? And now it's like, why? And that's the beauty of the restart is that we know we can't afford an environment that's not authentic and just honest. We don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So like for us, the way we've been able to like coin this thing to like help the restart is like, man, everybody's here is all in.
Love that.
Everybody who's here is all in. Everyone who's serving, they really want to be here.
Yeah.
And they see this buy-in, right? They're not just coming to church, they're leading, they're serving. They see this buy-in that maybe more people need to look at.
Yeah.
You know, that for me has been kind of like our sweet spot in ministry.
Bro, it's so good.
Is like looking hard at leaders, like, why are you so like look at your best people.
Yeah.
Most faithful people.
Yep.
Like what it is about you. What is it?
Man. Because
so many new people are coming in and they're, you know, what's the buy? I mean, that's the beauty of a restart. Everybody's here for good reasons.
Yes.
If you didn't like your church before COVID and you were praying about it after COVID, you left, if not physically, in your mind and your heart.
Yeah.
Right? That's just it's, you know, that's a whole nother podcast. But, you know, how to walk in and walk out of church is like in and out through the front door, which I think our generation needs to hear and talk about. I say this literally almost every week. There's different types of churches because there's different types of people.
For sure.
And I love just like having that open conversation.
Yep.
You know, with people. Even people that go to our church that are there for the first time. I'm like, thanks for coming. This church is all up and down the road. If you don't like today, I could still reach out.
Yeah.
To some awesome churches 10 minutes down the road.
True.
15 minutes down the road.
True.
And we don't teach that enough, you know. But having that reverence to look at what you're doing and say, you know what, God, this is your church. You're building your church.
Yep.
I'm a part of this.
Yep.
So, you know, what's the part that I play? Is it focusing on these systems and structures? Is it focusing on the culture we have? I think the future is leadership. I think the future is getting back to the basics.
Come on.
And not rushing through things. I think Christianese is slowly dying after COVID. Things we say to just say because we think people know what we mean.
Yeah, people have no idea.
They have no idea. So I think that's beautiful also.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful, dude. We're in momentum. We're all momentum, and it's a bunch of fun to be a part of what God's doing. It's a bunch of fun.
Dude, all of that is so good, bro. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Let's go.
Thank you for being part of the podcast.
I hear like a live
right?
studio audience.
So I want to say thank you to Pastor John for being with us. I want to encourage you, when you can, get on Instagram, follow New Birth Church in Kissimmee.
Plug.
Follow New Birth Youth. Follow New Birth YA.
Plug.
Follow Pastor John Mejia. I think it's like _ John Mejia or John Mejia _
I have no idea.
Follow Pastor John Mejia. If you look up all my friends, he's there.
I don't remember my tag.
And so, yeah, I also want to encourage you, subscribe to this podcast. Please. On YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. If you have Google Play, like, just don't listen to the podcast. I'm just kidding. I don't know anyone who listens to Google Play, but man,
not yet. We haven't found one.
We hope that this has been encouraging, refreshing. More than anything, I hope it's a resource and a tool that you can use as a leader, as you're building church, doing youth ministry, children's ministry, serving your local church, and building up the kingdom of God. This is Pastor Jonathan Rivera. We love you so much, and we hope that you have an incredible day. Take care. Hey, this is Pastor Jonathan saying thank you so much for watching this video. We hope that you found it helpful, encouraging, or inspiring. If you want to have more content like this, do us a favor. Press the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Turn on that little bell so you can get all the notifications and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Love you. See you soon.